Hello, my name is Shiva and this is Kansan, my father. If you don't know who I am a spiritual teacher of sorts, and I read something called Heaven Stories, which is basically the story of a person's soul and their journey or what they have to do to discover themselves. I can only read one Heaven story though for one person, and they're kind of expensive, so think about it if you really want to buy one. This is my manager over here. He films and edits all of the videos, and I really have to thank him because he's always there, and he's honestly the reason I started reading these, so thank you. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you too.
And today we'll be reading the Heaven story of the Spirit of Christmas. But first, we're going to sing a little song for you. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
That was nice.
It was, wasn't it?
Okay, so can I say a few things before you start?
Of course.
Because a lot of people think Christmas is just for Christians, right? Because it's called Christmas.
Christ Mass.
Christ Mass. Christ Mass, the Mass of Christ. Oh. For example, here in the United States, many people who try to be politically correct, they wish each other happy holidays, not to offend anyone who has a different holiday, because he celebrates a different religion. So, is Christmas just for Christians?
I would say no. I mean, we're a great example. I am the furthest from Christian you will ever find anyone being.
I do not think that is true, but...
I'm exaggerating, but you understand my point. My family isn't Christian. We aren't. And we still celebrate Christmas, and I don't think that it's just a holiday for Christian people to celebrate the birth of Christ. I think for a lot of people, Christmas is also a time to see family and to be able to give a ton of gifts and it's socially acceptable, and get a ton of stuff and it's socially acceptable, and you get to sit around and just enjoy yourselves with the snow and wearing sweaters and the fireplaces and the tree. It's sort of just a nice time to bond and to really show your appreciation and love for other people. And it doesn't matter if you celebrate Christmas or not. I mean, that's your business, and if you don't want to, that's fine. If you celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or other holidays that I don't know the names of because reasons, that's okay too. And I really think that it's that Christmas isn't just Christmas. There's a spirit behind it. The whole point of it is the feeling. And you get that in Hanukkah, you get that in, again, all the other holidays that I can't name because I've never looked it up, and I don't think I could remember or pronounce them anyway. But it really is just this feeling of giving and of loving people and of being together with family and enjoying the winter. And enjoying the season, especially if you live on this continent where we get snow, which is wonderful. Or unless you're Floridian, then, you know, we just have Christmas with palm trees. And I really think that it's mostly just a feeling of love and giving and cheer, and you just kind of get it around that time, that little excited feeling to buy presents and to see all the pretty decorations. It's something that you just perpetually get in the winter. And I think, again, that's just the feeling of wanting to give. And I don't think that Christmas is just for Christians, and I don't think that Christmas is just barred to the holiday it's named after. I think it's a feeling that doesn't have a name. So we call it the Christmas spirit. But I really think it's the feeling of love that you get no matter what holiday you're celebrating, or if you're not even celebrating a holiday at all. it's still a nice feeling to have, to feel happy and giving and see all the joy that people are having. And it's very cheesy, but it's just true.
People like cheese.
Yes?
Yeah, so because when you say cheesy, that to many people sounds like it's kind of a guilty pleasure, and to other people it's like cheesy is not a good thing, but people like cheese. So I think what people call cheesy is, to me, is actually something that we deep down truly love, but we just don't dare to love it openly. So we say it's cheesy because we're kind of guilty for it. But when I look at all these holidays that I know of, one thing that they have in common is the topic of light. Because these holidays happen in winter, and they always have to do something with creating a light, or the light is reborn. Is, to me, the combining part really has to do with light, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. And again, the Christmas spirit doesn't have a name, but it is an energy. It's a light. It's a feeling inside of you. And again, feelings are light. That's the whole thing. I mean, we also see it, the symbolism, the menorah for Hanukkah, for example. That, the entire point of that is like, I don't know, I'm going to sound so politically incorrect, but it's like 10 candles? I think 8 candles? I think it's 8 candles. I think it's 8 candles. Correct me if I'm wrong. And one of them is lit for each day, and I know you get a gift on each of the 8 days because I have a friend who celebrates that, but I learned about this when she told me when I was young, so I have horrible memories of it. So again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's how it goes for Jewish people, and again, that has a lot to do with light because it's the candles, and you're lighting each one, kind of like lighting it up. And on Christmas, for Christian people or people who celebrate Christmas instead, we cover our trees in lights. We bedazzle our house and put wreaths around it, and everything is just totally lit up. And that is also has to do with light. And I don't know about any other holidays, but I'm fairly sure all of them have some kind of light symbolism, whether it be candles or spending a ridiculous amount of money on little LED and LED lights that you cover your house with so that the neighborhood, whatevers, can yell at you. And I think, again, that's just us channeling this feeling, it's us channeling, look at how wonderful Christmas is, or look at how wonderful the season is, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, look how wonderful it is, let's show that light physically, somehow.
Okay, so, and, when you read a heaven story, usually you dig up something really deep, like a personal message that person has to hear. Do you have something that we have to hear about the spirit of Christmas, something we may not have yet thought of?
Well, what I have to say is, everybody feels the spirit of Christmas, even people who claim to hate the holiday, even people who have had bad experiences with the holiday, and I also think that everybody likes feeling it. People, again, we have all those people who are like, bah, humbug, screw Christmas, and I say, you don't really mean that. They think they hate Christmas, but everybody craves the light that comes with it. That's why it's like one of the most celebrated holidays in America. People here are so devoid of light that even this artificial way of experiencing it is something that they latch onto and desperately want to keep. Because they have so little of it in their daily lives that they need to find it. Like, there are quite a few spiritual Americans. I don't know any, personally. I know like 1 or 2. But I know they're out there. And I know that they feel that light. But there are a lot of people who don't. A lot of regular, everyday Americans who distance themselves from it, whether it be on purpose or not. And then they desperately crave it. And then that's kind of what this manifested into. Well, all these holidays, they spread from being just for Christians to be basically for the general public. Everybody who even isn't religious, or who doesn't celebrate another holiday celebrates Christmas because they're like, it's light and we want it. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. They don't want to believe that because they're like, oh, you're ruining Christmas, and that's also where Santa came from. As you get older, the thought of a fat man climbing down your chimney and putting presents on your tree is just a little creepy, but when you're younger, it's magical, It's this thought of there's this man who comes and he gives presents because he loves people. But parents also use this as a behavioral tactic. It's like, if you're not good, you're not getting anything, you naughty child, he'll give you coal. Which I think is also personally a little ridiculous to tell your child that they're going to get coal in their presents if they don't behave. Like, please be nice to your children. But I do also think that we're very afraid of having Christmas ruined. The people who celebrate it are very afraid of that. They're afraid of anything tainting it, so they throw out sales, they go crazy in buying things. They hate not being able to afford presents for people, and you're expected to feel guilty for not giving presents because you're tainting the light that Christmas has. For a lot of people, and people, this is where they desperately seek something that they already have but don't want to use. And I guess that's something really important you have to know about Christmas, is that while it's a wonderful holiday and definitely one of my favorites, and I love very much, it's also the only way a lot of people can get light in their lives, and that's kind of sad and kind of painful, and it's mostly because they're too afraid to find it in any other way than what's socially acceptable. And it's never going to be socially acceptable until a ton of people are doing it, because then it becomes the norm. Like straightening your hair, or putting on makeup, or wearing jeans on females, or, girls wearing high heels, or guys having earrings. A lot of guys do, so it's like, okay, whatever, guy has earrings. Or people wearing glasses, or guys having beards, all that becomes normal when lots of people do it. Then people are like, okay, all these people must be doing it, so it must be normal, we'll just do it too. One person does it, another person does it, it multiplies, it becomes normal. And until we do that, spirituality or finding your own light is not going to be considered normal, and you're just going to be called a hippie by a lot of people who don't bother to understand your life.
Okay, so you previously said something that may have offended a couple of 100,000 people, because you said there are not many spiritual Americans. I know many people.
I said I do not know many.
I know many Americans who consider themselves very spiritual. There are a ton of people who regularly go to church, who follow Jesus, or who follow a different faith. There are people who follow non-denominational spiritual traditions. So how can it be that there are so many people who consider themselves spiritual, but you say they don't have enough light, or they haven't found the light? How does it work?
I'm gonna preface that by saying that following a religion is perfectly okay by me. If you want to follow a religion and believe in a god or multiple gods, go right ahead. I'm not here to stop you. I believe in God. Like, come on. I personally, my opinion, I'm not a fan of organized religion. Now, that might be because of my upbringing in a Catholic private school, but it always felt like you were being trained to be a specific way. They were telling you that if you weren't like this, you were a bad person, and that definitely goes against a lot of what the Catholic religion says, which is be open and love everybody for however they are and don't try to force them into anything. But that's kind of been lost in time, and I'm not saying get all, but the ones I've met, the Catholics and Christians I've met, have tried to force me into their way of thinking. I was never Catholic, I was never Christian, never once. We went through the school because it had good education. But I was told in 3rd grade by one of my teachers that people who weren't Catholic went to hell. The teacher was probably not quite aware that I wasn't Catholic and assumed that everybody in the room was a good little faithful child, but it really did strike a chord with me because it made me realize that a lot of people think like that. If you aren't like them, you aren't right. You aren't spiritual, and I think that's something those are the people who haven't found the light. There are definitely Catholics and Christians out there who are full of light and love, who I've read about these people who say, I am Christian, but you know what? That's the whole point, accepting and loving everybody for who they are. That was the entire idea of it, and those people, I think, truly are spiritual, because not only they don't just blindly follow what their priests and Catholics say, they read the Bible themselves, and they know in their hearts that it's okay to love everybody, because even if they're sinners, quote unquote, they're still people, and they still deserve to be loved, because love thy neighbor as you love yourself. right? And that's the whole deal with Jesus too. I mean, he dined with like tax collectors, whores, prostitutes, like poor people, rich people, people who were good, bad, criminals, because he loved everybody. That was his deal. That was his shtick, I guess you could say. And I think that people who haven't found the light are people who use their religion to justify their hatred. Those are people who are so far removed from the light that they can't even see it anymore. They don't know what it is. But they're living with artificial light, just like these ones that are illuminating my face right now. This isn't daylight. This is an electronic thing that we set up to make my face look nice. And that's exactly what those people are living in. And again, if you follow a religion, good for you. Keep doing that, and if it makes you happy, go ahead. But never use it to justify the hatred of another human being. Because that goes most likely against everything that religion has taught you. Especially if you're Catholic. Because the entire purpose is to not hate people. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's been bugging me my whole life that people continue to believe that if you don't follow their religion, you must be a bad person. Now, if you're a person who doesn't follow religion, that's also great. Be an atheist, whatever. Don't believe in anything. It's up to you. You still believe that there is nothing. That's still a belief. But the second you bash someone or tell them that they're wrong for having a religion, then, you're kind of being a jerk and you should probably stop. Because even if you don't believe that a higher power is telling you to love everybody, you still should. I mean, it's just the good thing to do. Just let people be themselves, unless themselves is a psychotic murderer, then call the police. It's just, why can't people just love each other? That's always my question. And the answer is always they're scared of loving each other, because what happens then? There's no war. There's nothing to be done. If you love each other, everything's good and happy. And they're like, but what if it's not? What if loving someone gets you hurt? And it will. I'm just going to say, I'm going to be blunt. It will. Loving someone is going to get you very hurt. And you know what? That's okay. I have loved people who have wrecked me. I can tell you bunches of school friends who have destroyed me because I loved them so much I couldn't let them go. And it's still an experience. It doesn't mean I'm afraid of loving. I still jump into relationships with other people, with friendships with other people, or relationships with distant family members blindly and say, okay, I love you. Because that's the only way I'm going to learn. If I'm afraid of loving people, all that's going to bring me is more mistrust, and I'm just going to be lonely. I don't want to be lonely. I don't like that. That's not fun.
I think nobody likes that.
Nobody. Humans are very social. So again, follow religion, don't follow religion, whatever. Just don't use your beliefs to justify your hatred. That's the farthest away you can get from any kind of light. Then you're going to be stuck with these things, these little fake lights that you put up and say, look at me, I'm so illuminated. You're not. You're full of hatred and coldness and judgmentalism. No. That's not light. That's just blindness. You can't tell the difference if you're blind, can you? And that sounds really offensive, but I mean spiritually blind. Not physically. Although some people can be physically blind. I don't know.
So, I always have the feeling that around Christmas there's a special access to light. There's a special spirit that is somewhere in the air. So, how can we use the light of Christmas maybe to be a little less blind?
Well, the light of Christmas is actually a really very good thing, It brings people together, and I think that to use this productively, you have to look past the presents and the trees and Santa Claus and the Christmas cookies and following a trail of golden dust that your uncle probably put out when you were up in your room playing with dolls, or cars or whatever. And I really think when you look past that, you can see that there is a lot of love in Christmas and in the time of year. That's the whole point of all the Christmas carols and whatever. The whole point of it is the love behind it. And I really think that to use it productively, and you look past all the shallow stuff that we all know and love, and I know and love very much, you can also see, you can use that love, because it's one of the times when we're most open to love, especially. It's like a gateway. It's like when the veil between light and you is thinnest. And I would say, take that day, take this time of year to kind of look at yourself and reflect. What do I really want to believe in? And do I really believe in what I want to follow? Do my beliefs clash with that of my religion or lack therefore? If you say yes to any of that, then I would say experiment, Look around, try and find where you fit in. And I mean, if you don't fit in anywhere, that's okay too. Just make your own, You don't have to be part of a religion or not part of a religion to believe what you do. Again, that's why I'm not such a fan of organized religion, because organized religion sets rules that you have to follow. And for some people, that's enough. For some people, that's perfect, and that's okay. But for some people, that only aligns up with a couple of their beliefs. And not all, like Christianity and Catholicism. It only lines up with about two, which I believe in, that God and Jesus were real people. Jesus was a real dude. And I believe that I don't believe, though, that God is a higher entity than me. I don't believe that there is a man sitting in the sky judging whether or not I deserve to have eternal punishment based on whatever I'm saying right now. I believe that I can say, screw you, God, and he still isn't going to send me down to a boiling pit of screaming bodies. Because I believe that he is me, he is in me, and he's in everybody, and he is everybody. He's one. He is us. And I don't believe that he's higher entity. So, again, I didn't fit into the label that Catholicism put on me. So I said, okay, no, I'm going to believe in what I want to believe. And, for a lot of people, that's kind of confusing. A lot of people don't know where to go with that. And I think Christmas is really the time where they can reflect on themselves and say, maybe I don't believe in that. And I do believe in this. And then they can follow that and see where that takes them, because they're open to it at that time of year. And also, I would use it as a time to make up. If you fought with a family member or had a serious argument or something happened, talk to them, because that is the time that you two are going to be able to make up and find your love again. Christmas is really a time for forgiveness and happiness and finding oneself without being afraid of finding oneself. And I really think that it's very important that you utilize it instead of just buying like $150 worth of Christmas presents and anxiously hoping that you don't get trampled by all the Christmas shoppers looking for the best deals.
Awesome, Annie. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I guess the last thing to do is Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever unpronounceable holiday you celebrate.
Exactly. Happy holidays.